Hello, hello, my beautiful people. Hello, it's Adriana here back on Body, Mind, and Soul Connectors. And today is another amazing event of Connection Circles. And we have beautiful people guests today. And my co-host, Lorna and Michelle. Say hello, hello, everyone. As we do all the time, for those that are watching live or replay, just comment below. Let us know what you're tuning from. And also definitely connect with each one of us as we are diving a little bit deep and know our guests and put the spotlight on each one of you. So thank you so much for all of you for jumping here and coming and taking your time on a Sunday morning or afternoon-ish, as we said earlier, to come here and spend some time with some strangers. Then might become your friends. Welcome everyone. So what we do, like always, we do one round when I'm gonna say hello, and then each one is gonna say hello, your name, your title, and what you're tuning from, and then we're gonna pass it on to the second round to Lorna. So we're gonna start with Annie.
I'm Annie Emprima. I am a metaphysician that specializes in communicating with traumas inside the body, and I'm in Las Vegas, Nevada.
Amazing, amazing. Thank you for being here. It's a pleasure. Can't wait to hear all about, because I'm all about trauma. I'm all about that. So can't wait to hear more about it. Let's go to Mark.
Hello, my name is Mark Rodriguez from Santa Fe, New Mexico. I am a speaker, an author, and coach, and I deal with self-development and the importance of self-care and self-love, and dealing with the traumas that occur in our lives in a most healthy and positive and productive way to move forward.
Oh, it's gonna be this is gonna be juicy. I feel it. I know some people are weird like me that they get very excited about when people talk about trauma. So that's me. Anyway, let's move on. Welcome, Mark, and let's move on to Lorna.
I'm Lorna, and I'm here in British Columbia, Western Canada, and I am a sex and spirit alchemist of the feminine-led life, a speaker, teacher, and few other things along the way, and I'm just going to leave it as that.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And Michelle.
Hi, guys. I'm Michelle Beauchard. I go by The Natural Entrepreneur. I'm a mission technician and a digital doula. I help people craft their online offers and build the tech to support them. And I live on Vancouver Island off the west coast of Canada. So a little bit more out towards the water than Lorna and Adriana, but yeah, here in Canada. So Adriana, what about you?
I'm Adriana Di Marvel. I'm tuning in from Edmonton, Alberta, Canada. Originally, if you hear my accent, which I don't have one, from Romania, where I come from, I don't have accent. Originally from Romania, but I've been in Canada for a lot of years. And I was called, I didn't call myself, I was called, actually, Michelle was the one that put this title, a brain mechanic. And then we'll talk about that a little bit later. A brain mechanic, and I dare to say a soul stirrer. I stir people's souls. Thank you so much for everyone for being here. And let's move on. So we're going to pass it on to Lorna, and she's going to take up with the round number 2.
All right. Thank you, Adriana, and welcome, Annie and Mark. We're so glad that you are here. In this time, what we're going to do is you have a 5-minute container to just really sink into and let yourself share however you would like to share. One of the things we encourage is to set aside any script that you might have and just really listen into what each person is sharing. That way you can really connect in to what they're sharing, even behind the message itself. And then when it's your turn, you'll have an opportunity to share. The 3 things that we are going to have you share, and the questions that Michelle has put into the questions are putting in your, first of all, you're going to tell about your gifts. What are your gifts that you have? And we're talking about a free gift. That's not what we're asking for. We're saying your gifts, the gift of you. What is the gifts that you bring to the world? How do you serve and who do you serve? And then why do you do what you do? Now you can mix those up, answer them in whatever order you would like to. And that's there for you to share. Now, one of the things we'd like to do is just, again, when we talk about just being present and listening, it's an opportunity to really, what we say is it just really weaves this connection together rather than just, okay, here's these people, dot, 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 and we walk away. It's just, no, really recognizing the ways that we are connected, the commonalities. So what we'll have you do is, and I'm just going to, I'm feeling that I'm going to go first today. Not done that before. And then it's going to go to Mark. So I'm going to share a piece here. I'm going to share about my gifts, who I serve and how, and why I do what I do. And then Mark, you're going to pick up something that I shared, and you're just going to connect with it. Maybe something that really resonates with you, something that that you can say, oh, I'm the same, or whatever, something there. You're going to pick up that thread and acknowledge that, and then you'll go into sharing of your gifts, who and how and why. And then the next person that I will share, you're going to pick up a thread from something that Mark shared, and we're going to weave it together. And then the last person, it'll come back to me, and I will pick up a thread of something that they said. So we just really love to weave the circle together in a way of connection. So for me, and I'm going to put the timer on myself here as well. All right. So my gifts, it seems like for a long time I have been, start it. There we go. It seems like I have been since childhood somebody who has sort of been on the leading edge of various things. Different, even adults, when I was a child, different adults saying, we're following you, we're watching what you're doing. So that seems to be something I've been called a pioneer. And interestingly, the piece that I'm being called to right now is that of working in the sexual erotic realm of things and the spiritual through a spiritual lens. And I look at things through a mirror, see things as a mirror, that when we look at the mirror in the morning, we see things not as they are, but we see it's the opposite. So to be able to look at how we've been living our life in terms of the whole male female piece of things, the feminine masculine piece, it's kind of, what if we really turn things on their head, if you will, or turn them and look at things in the opposite view. So where we have looked at more that aspect of males or the masculine leading, it's kind of, what if we bring it around where it's actually the females or the feminine that's leading, and looking at it from a lens. And I take that from different areas of our dichotomy of what appears to be female and male, and the masculine and feminine within us, and our whole human spiritual journey. And I look at that through bringing our aspect of the sexuality and how the role that plays in there. So my gifts really are creating safe and sacred spaces for people to show up as they are, non-judgmental, to be able to allow people to feel into, guiding people into feeling things that we've been taught to not feel, whether that's physical things, whether that's emotional things, because at some level we've all been taught to not feel. And so really to bring ourselves back in. Who I serve, I've in these last 15 years since I had my teaching, I was taught in the school system, and then I taught energy work, and then all that culminating together in the sexual erotic spiritual realm. And I work primarily right now with women, although that's online, that's who I put out as my niche. And yet I work with men, I work with couples all along as well, really supporting women in reconnecting to their sexuality, really reconnecting to their power, their sexuality, and their leadership, and the males and the masculine, to really support them in connecting to being able to feel. And oftentimes it's really the masculine that's just saying, I just want to surrender. I just want to stop being in control, and support this space where the feminine is in leadership and the masculine is there in support. Why do I do what I do? I think in some ways, like a lot of us, our work often comes from our own journeys, our own experiences. So for me, knowing what it was like to feel very disconnected from my own body, my own sexuality, to feel like it didn't fit for me to not have a voice, it didn't fit for me to not have choice, and it didn't feel like it was a fit to be in relationships where we all felt kind of lost. And so this just really feels like it's spirit guided to really bring this forward. And then ultimately, it also, I see that it creates what I call homes of harmony. not only the homes that we live in with people in relationship and our children, but it's also these homes that we're living in. We can be in harmony in these homes that we live in and in the spiritual human experience. I work with people. So the how is I do a lot of one-on-ones. That's my primary way right now. I have done a lot of in-person prior to COVID and some online. So I have global clients. I have people right now that are over in the UK and Spain and across Canada in the States. So I'm really global. And I work through the various ways that I can support empowering women and training men. It's actually through my coaching, through my energy work, through bondage, various realms, whatever each person needs to support them of really connecting into their hearts and their souls. So one-on-ones, I'm getting ready to look at doing some retreats online as well as in person, so different training. So for me, it's really taking all of that I am and how do I, when I meet people, whether it's through a group, through different things in my Facebook group, but just how do I support people in really coming home to themselves and living true to who they are. Consent is a big piece as well. So that's where I start with people, and that really focuses in on feeling at home in our bodies. All right, so that's a bit about me. All right, so I'm just going to stop there just for some reason. All right, so there's a little bit of modeling, Mark, of answering the questions. You get to do it in your own beautiful, unique way. So go ahead and pick up a thread of something that I shared that resonated with you, and then share into your 3 questions as well. Look forward to hearing what you will share today.
Well, there was a few threads, actually. A couple that stuck out at the beginning were when you spoke about the mirror. I believe it's very important that everybody has a strong relationship with their mirror, because your mirror will never lie to you. You could lie to it as much as you want, but it will never lie back to you.
Beautiful.
And the other one that resonated with me was the need for us to recognize both our female and male sides, and then get that balance. I am a 2-time double lung transplant recipient. I am the only stonemason in the history of the world to ever do stonemasonry after 2 double lung transplants. So many people describe me as one of the strongest people they know, or some tough guy. But let me tell you about that is when all you are is tough, that just means you survived. Many people mistake the words strong, tough, strong, and powerful, and they think they're the same thing, and they're not. They're all very much different. And so for a good portion of my life, I was very tough, but that only meant that I was tough enough to survive. So I kind of was stuck, because when you're just talking about surviving, it kind of becomes a sob story. And nobody wants to hear that, because everybody has one, right? But we need to communicate how we feel. So there's that, where you have to find that balance, right? But your story and the traumas that happened to you in your life, if we're only talking about, oh, I got knocked down, but I got back up, well, then you're just like talking about getting beat up. And at some point, we have to say, look, I'm tired of getting beat up. Now, I'm going to have to start fighting back at some point, right? Unless I just want to keep getting beat up, because they could say, you get knocked down this many times and you're supposed to get up this many times. But what did you do after you got up? See, did we thrive after we survived? Because that's when your story grows some legs and gets some power and makes a difference, not only in your life moving forward in power and positivity, but those listening, it also kind of gives them unconscious permission to start their healing journey or even gain the courage to start speaking about their story. And so all these things are very, very important, but the way I was taught, and it's not a knock on my dad or my grandpa, it's just the way that the times that required men to be this way, is that we didn't talk about being tired or hurt or sick or sad. You didn't talk about those things. You stuffed them down and you went to work because you were the provider, you were the protector. Problem with that is a lot of tough guys ended up in the cemetery with that thinking where they weren't communicating these things when they were happening. And it's only gotten worse over time because now there's so many people choosing a permanent solution to a temporary problem in the form of suicide because they can't handle these things. And the people that I serve are the ones that are choosing stress and anger and frustration and depression. And I make it very clear to them that those are not automatic steps in the process when something occurs. Those are choices. And then I break down further where those choices are coming from. If you, I'm a very resilient person. I've persevered through a lot of things, but a lot of it has to do with my faith. And so I always, go back to the word. And I tell people when they say, I'm so stressed out or, these kind of things, I tell them that's a choice. Don't forget that, and if it's not in the word, then it's not from God. So it's not, that's coming from somewhere else. So I try to help the people who need help to begin helping themselves. And I know I'm out of time, but yes, I am a speaker and I could go on for 40 more minutes and still run out of time, but thank you.
Thank you so much, Mark. And Mark, who do you primarily work with? What group of people do you primarily work with?
Anyone struggling with a tough situation or struggling with the internal battle that we all struggle with sometimes, and that's thinking that we're not enough, we're not good enough, we're not smart enough, we're not strong enough. And or just the one like many times in life, we say, I believe in myself, but then we turn around and operate in self-sabotage. Those two things don't go together. Those are the people that I try to tell them, you're kind of trying to force yourself to eat a peanut butter and tuna fish sandwich, and it's not going to go down well. It's not, because those two things will never go together. And so we have to stop doing that, right? If
All
we
right.
truly love ourselves and believe in ourselves, then we will cease the operation of self-sabotage,
Okay.
amplifying the negatives, feeding the fears and doubts, and all of those awful things that hold us back from our greatness.
Gotcha. Wonderful. Thank you so much. All
Thank
right.
you.
And we'll go next to Annie. So if you can pick up a thread of something that Mark shared, acknowledge it, and then go into your sharing of your questions. Thank you.
I highlighted the phrase the story grows legs because that's really my story. I deployed in 2016, landed in Kuwait, felt things on my skin. I thought it was prayer in the air because I didn't know any different. I thought it was oil in the air. What I didn't realize is that my clairs were opening up while I'm in the middle of a deployment. And I'm hearing voices, I'm feeling energy pushing me in a direction, and these claircognizant pieces coming in. And that was not on my bingo card. No one gave me a warning. So these things are happening, and I can't tell the chaplain, I can't tell mental health because it becomes a psychiatric issue or a mental health concern in a battlefield space. So it's interesting, like the story grows legs, how my story of being on this deployment and watching social behavior in stressful space, sort of environment, and then coming home and having all of these physical and mental issues and the struggles that then sort of exploded when I realized that my husband at the time, while I was deployed, dissociated and never clicked back in. And I'm falling from all of these things, mental, physical struggles. And I was left on an island in my own home. And that began the story of how I started paying attention to the impact of emotions on the body and the mind. And so many things have happened since then, many experiences that have brought me to serving people who are experiencing physical ailments that were caused by emotions from childhood, adolescence, early adult life that are now manifesting into very severe situations, whether it's a organ distress or mental anguish. So helping people navigate through telling the story that their body has not been able to speak. And my gifts also include the ability to step into someone's essence and feel what they're feeling in a very clear, empathic way. So I can help put words to someone who has suicidal ideation, help land that emotional homelessness so that they can start moving into the direction of healing. And as I do that, it's also expanding my awareness, the much larger awareness, that 4D, length, width, height, time, space, how we can heal, go back in the timeline and heal the acorn long before it becomes the oak tree. We can clear it from the timeline in a very metaphysical way, in a way that traditional psychotherapeutic modalities can't address. So the soul wounds is what I look for. And I think that, going back with Mark said with self-love, self-care, we are our greatest enemy. It is really us. It is not the outside world. It is how we've internalized the opinions and the behaviors of the people around us. We become our own epigenetic trauma. Not only do we inherit it biologically, but we also absorb it throughout our life. And there are statements where we say, oh, we shouldn't care about what other people think, but we're Homo sapiens. We absolutely do care about what other people think. And we need to cultivate a space where we can feel safe in our own body, safe in our own home, safe with our friends and family, safe with our community, safe with our country. And those are layers of insulation that help us grow into our more authentic self. And that's my pursuit, is in this very large journey that I've had to take in the past 8 years. It's really in helping people walk themselves home to authenticity, perhaps for the first time. And it's interesting, Mark, we talk about your lungs, how each organ in our body carries an emotion, a predominant emotion. Lungs carry a lot of grief. And if we recognize the story that our body is telling, then we know how that acorn became the tree. We can have more compassion and empathy for behaviors that seem very unadult-like and very immature. We can return back to the beginning and rewrite that chapter in a forward-facing way. So that is the framework of what I do.
Thank you, Annie, for sharing, and really profound. And so I can see how your connection to what Mark said about your story has legs. It really does. So thank you for that. Do you primarily work one-on-one? Do you do groups? How do you work with people, Annie?
I do mostly, the bulk of what I do is private sessions. I have an international audience. I'm 99% online with an international audience. And but I also do a lot of TikToks so that people can see other people experiencing little sampling, 20-minute samples of what I'm capable of, so that it's not so scary and it's a little bit more safe. So it usually starts with a member of TikTok social community coming in, watching my live, sticking around for a little bit, feeling brave, and then becoming a client through that funnel.
Awesome. Thank you so much. All right, we'll go now to Michelle, please.
Oh my goodness. Well, before anything, I just want to thank my two beautiful soul sisters, Adriana and Lorna, for their their presence and their consistency and their commitment to holding this space for folks like you and Mark. It's profound what connections we've been able to attract here, and just really grateful that you guys are here with us today. So thank you so much for spending your time. Right. So who am I today? How do I serve? Well, my technical gig is I am I call myself a mission technician, a digital doula. I'm a natural entrepreneur because I'm a biologist and watershed stewardship coordinator originally by formal training. My mom was a nature artist, and the love of nature and connection to nature just really grounds me. I am a mom to a guy on the autism spectrum who's nonverbal and self-injurious, and a daughter who's experienced impacts as a result of that and had her own set of journeys as well. And really, what I loved about what each of you said, Annie, your piece about having soul wounds and the energetic realities of who we are and how we move into our purpose. That really struck me, because that's sort of been one of the themes for me lately. Is I didn't understand why I went through what I went through at the different times in the chapters of my life, being, small town mill girl, alcoholic mom and dad who bailed, and then into the university years where I tried to overachieve to people please my family, and early career wins and big awards and accolades, and then kind of like falling into not being aware of my own childhood patterns and falling into a heavily complicated and narcissistic abuse relationship, then having my kids moving out of that and into a healthier place, but just being sort of, pardon the expression, balls to the wall, and just doing heavily into my masculine driven, taking care of my mama bear had kicked in, and taking care of my kids, and moving into a phase ultimately that turned into caregiver burnout. And Mark, what I really appreciated what you said was this whole identity shift piece, where you can live in your repetitive trauma, and life tells you something, and then it whispers it, and then it speaks it, and then it shouts it, and then it hits you over the head with a frying pan, and you get broken down into the pieces, and you can either rebuild the same thing, or you can rebuild something new. And so at times, as a special needs parent, it felt a bit like I couldn't find the light switch in the dark room. I was feeling around for how to get out of that victimhood, how to restructure. And I realized nobody is coming to save my family and I. The government isn't going to do it. Insurance agencies isn't going to do it. The school system isn't going to do it. Nothing is going to help. And so I needed to build something to support my son and my family. And to, when I leave the planet, I worry about him not being able to take care of himself. So I needed to build what I needed to see. And so as I started to have a respite and homeschool care company that delivered, respite and support for people, the same that I needed to be able to have the space and time to figure myself out. And I wasn't giving myself. I was just like doing for everything and everybody else. I realized that, I needed to shift. And so, but as I built that respite company, I realized, well, it was great for the parents, great for the workers, great for the kids, but it wasn't breaking even. And I needed kind of a bake sale, because I just was not willing to let go of the fact that shouldn't be easier to order a pizza to your door than complex need care. So I went on a mama bear search, and I did all the things, the MLMs and the cryptos and the stocks and all the things, and found, that social media was going to be something that I, at this time where I was reforming myself, I could help people find their paths. And one of the greatest gifts my son gave me is realizing that everybody has a gift inside of them. and whether you can speak it or not. And I feel that way about online business, that everybody has a soul's path, everybody has a purpose. And your life and your business has to be designed naturally around you and your priorities and that. So what I do now is I help people, tune into that, tune into what their offer is, what their ecosystem of products are, low, mid, high offers, and then build the tech to support all of that. And then the revenues that I generate go towards respite and homeschool supports for families like mine. So that's the goal. I'm going to run out of time here. But my big purpose is my ultimate vision purpose is to eliminate caregiver burnout and to restore ecological function, because I used to do salmon recovery and a whole bunch of other stuff. So I'm a kind of a Forrest Gumpy type, and but I love to sit with people and help them figure out what it is they need logistically for their business, and then build that tech to support it. So
Thank you very much, Michelle. And I love how you started with who am I today? Because that's exactly each time we share, right? It's sort of a new facet comes out because we are dynamic and alive. So thank you. Adriana, please share with us.
Yes. Holy moly, where do I start? I took like so many notes. It's beautiful. I felt so deeply connected with each one of you and everything you shared, and every one of you had these truth bombs that was like, oh, that was good. I need to write it down. That was good. I got excited. The child in me got very excited. Anyway, there's so many things. One thing that stood out for me from taking as a thread what Michelle shared, she's like, nobody's coming to save you. And this is something that as a child, I always, maybe in my my curiosity and my dream world, I always dreamed that someone's going to save me. Someone's going to save me of the alcoholic abusive dad. Someone is going to save me of my own insecurity. Someone is going to save me on my own doubt. And someone is going to bring me back to who I am, because I didn't know who I was. I felt lost. I felt, I grew up into being indoctrinated into patriarchal culture in Romania in the 80s. So it was the communist times. So it was hard times. The shooting was happening outside. We didn't have electricity and all these things that I grew up with. And then I, became an adult, and I did what I was supposed to do. I was taught the identity was created for me, because I lost at one point. Let's say I didn't lose my identity. I choose for safety. I choose attachment versus authenticity. Like most of us, when we're children, we have two biggest needs. One is authenticity, and the second one is attachment. And most of us, we choose attachment because that is what keeps us surviving and safe. And we can survive without authenticity, which is build a facade of who we should be like, so we can receive the love that we're looking for, to feel safe and survive. And that was my story. And of course, I grew up with, playing the victim role, that it's my dad's fault, it's my parents, they were my grandparents and all the people around me, the school, the society, the culture I grew up with in Romania. I grew up in that kind of culture. Then I got married, and then it's my husband's fault. Then I got divorced, then it's still his fault. Then I got another relationship, there is their fault, and so on. Until one day that I start crossing on my have a list in my mind of everybody's fault. And guess what? At the end of that list, who was left? Me. So that's when it was a big wake-up call for me. Like Annie was mentioning, that when you have that something is happening in your life that is strike you, and you not even think you're not ready, but you are, if it happened to you. I woke up one morning when I was so much in debt. I was with one foot out of a relationship. I was still heartbroken after my separation of the 8 years divorce. I was emotionally, financially, mentally broke. I was physically sick. I had asthma, really bad asthma, you name it, all of them. And I woke up in the morning and I look at the person in the mirror and I screamed and I hate the person in the mirror. And I like, something has to change. I'm sick and tired. Like I was done. I was done with life and everything. Oh, sorry. I was sick and tired of everything. And then guess what happened? That person in the mirror, like Mark said, you know, look at the person in the mirror, it's gonna tell you the truth. I look at the person in the mirror and that person literally felt like it said to me, nothing has to change. You have to change. And that hit hard, like really deep. And I start looking into that person in the mirror more and more and I ask her what he needs. And that's when I start my own development and figure out and return to home. And since then, I start doing all this work. And of course, the child in me is always excited. Oh, look, this work on me. Let me tell you. And then I start sharing with people around me. And then people start saying, you should do this. I'm like, what? Like this, whatever you do, this. So I start diving more into speaking because that's something I always loved to do, but it was choked by society and my own doubts. And I start speaking, coaching. The way I serve and who I serve people is I call them unicorns. Those people that they know they are different. They know they have something special to bring into this humanity and they can do a huge impact, not just like a huge impact in this world, but they are still terrified because that acorn is still suffering in them and is not growing in a big tree that they need to be. And that's the people I serve. And how I serve it, it's most definitely, it's very, very deep work, a lot of deep work through IFS, internal family system, family constellation, EMDR. There's so many things that I use as tools that help me as for my own journey. And now I help the people I serve today through speaking, coaching, one-on-ones, groups, and so many other things. Any way I can serve people. So that's a little bit about me. Thank you.
Thank you, Adriana. And I love the way that you picked up the threads from something that each person had shared. And I think it really speaks to what we find time and time again in these circles is that those threads where we are, the connection, those commonalities. And it's just really beautiful. And Adriana, the thread that really stood out for me today from what you shared was that piece about the victim. And I remember even looking back, even as a child, there was that sense of, you know, who am I blaming something on? And so, and even I would say, even in this last month, there was something that happened and there was another layer of victim that came up. And I'm thinking, wow, it's just amazing how deep that story goes, how subtly it's been woven inside. And so to be able to, I gotcha, to be able to shine the light and say, gotcha. So it's really been amazing.
Yeah.
So thank you for that. Thank you, each of you, for sharing, for what you've shared. I love that you're here and the work that you're doing in the world, the gift that you are in the world. And Michelle's going to take it from, I'm going to pass the speaking stick to her for what she's going to share, because we want to be able to continue to celebrate you, Annie and Mark, for who you are, your experiences and what you bring to the world. And so again, thank you. This, our video here will be going into our group where it will be there for people to see, as Michelle will talk about. It's like a video calling card as well. It'll go onto our YouTube channel, so it can be there and people to share. Michelle's going to share a little bit more about how we can continue to support you. Thank you for being here.
You muted. Michelle, you muted.
Thank you. Yes, absolutely, because we really value your presence here today, Mark and Annie, and anybody watching on replay. If they would like to connect with Annie or Mark or Adriana or Lorna, I just drop a comment in the box and we'll get Annie and Mark to drop their links in the comments of the show so that you can connect with them directly. If they've struck a chord with you, if you'd like to work with them, please reach out. And we are going going to talk about in a second, just some of the ways we'd like to continue to feature you. But first, I want to find out how you guys felt about the session. And so we're going to go, round 3 is going to be first we're going to go around and grab a word that you feel describes how this session was today. And then we're going to leave you with some parting thoughts and information about what's coming up in the network. I'm actually called to start with Lorna. Lorna, you started the other part. What's your word for today?
Word for today. Resonant is the word that comes. Just a lot of resonance amongst us all. Yeah, thank you.
Resonant. Cool. Okay. How about you, Mark?
I want to say accountability, because that will lead to your healing. That will lead to your growth, then the elevation, and then you can be used in many different ways after that whole process takes place.
Yeah, and I love how everybody here is so accountable. I mean, yeah, that's beautiful. Thank you so much. Annie?
The first word that came in was interwoven. That we each tell our story and we realize we have similarities, that interwoven connection.
Beautiful. How about you, Adriana?
For me, it was awareness.
Yeah. Self-awareness, you think?
And
yeah.
Self-awareness, but awareness of awareness required to be present, and to be present and hear every single person and connect to their own awareness. It's something beautiful to hear everybody and connect them, not just hear them, but like deeply hear them. Yeah.
Well, I know it's not one word, but I think what mine is today is authentic identity. Because sometimes we're not living in our authentic identity. And I think each of us have gone through the stages of not having the authentic identity, but now we have stepped into those authentic identities and brought the gifts that were meant to be here to serve. And so really, really grateful for each of you doing that. And so how we would love to serve that further is to offer you a one-to-one 15-minute highlight feature interview, just yourself here. And so you will receive an email, follow-up email with the booking calendar, but we'll pop it into the comments in the chat as well, so that you can have a bit longer of a feature and a story. We are building in this network, in Body, Mind, Soul, a directory of really heart-centered, passion-based, purpose-focused entrepreneurs in the wellness space who want to be able to kind of take advantage of the internet, but work in that old-timey network fashion where you used to, oh yeah, I know Mark does this, and oh yeah, I know Annie does that, and Adriana does this, and Lorna does that. And so that we can build a space that will help promote and refer each other. We're building an affiliate program so that those referrals we can receive energy and thanks in the form of money back from those referrals, and also just provide a lot of benefits, like we'll be doing some events and micro summits and different pieces in our subscription community, doing some coaching and providing a space for people to feature their own works so that you guys can drop your lead magnets or your free courses or even your real courses and promote yourself in our subscription community. So that is building, and we hope to launch that in January, but would love to welcome you to that as beta members and feature you here in the network a little bit more as well. So just really appreciate you being here in the early stages of the growth of this group, and your time today and sharing your gifts, and yeah, just the light that you bring to this world, because you're fan-frickin-tastic and we love having you here. So Lorna and Adriana, did I miss anything?
No, I think we good. Just if anybody has any like last thoughts to share before we head out. Everybody can unmute.
I just want to thank you guys for including me in this today. This is wonderful. And I just want to leave you with this. Be good to yourself. The world is gonna beat you up. So stop getting in line to help out.
I love that.
Be good to yourself and just like anybody else who has hurt us and we lose trust in that person, we can do that with ourselves too, because we let ourselves down, we hurt ourselves, we abuse ourselves. And so it's important that we recognize all those things and then regain that trust in ourselves. But that will lead to the best version of love that we can give ourselves. And then that transfers to everybody around us.
Mark with the love bomb for the win. All right, that's awesome. Thank you so much for that beautiful summary, Mark. Really, really appreciate you and Annie being here with us today. Adriana, you want to take us out?
Yes, thank you. Annie, I want to share anything?
I have a book that is in editing now. It may publish by the end of the year, possibly very beginning of the year. And it's titled Trauma Whispers Before It Roars. The healing of your family, your friends, your community, and your country starts with you. And I talked about the 6 layers of belonging because they're insulation. And if we don't feel safe, we're not in a position. Adriana, you'd mentioned that we can survive without authenticity, but at some point we have to go back and honor who we really are, because that's really where we have the greatest contribution in society, is when we are truly in resonance with what we were meant to be doing. We don't have to have everything figured out. Like, not everything has to be figured out, but we have to honor the parts of us, the strong parts, the weak parts, all of the parts of us. And that's when we are the greatest and most useful contributors to society in helping everyone rise up, which then becomes another layer for our own personal sense of belonging. So it is an ecosystem that we have to honor, and everyone has to honor it. And when we do that, it really gives a strong sense of permission for us to step out of survival mode and into thrive mode.
Yeah. Beautiful, beautiful saying. Thank you so much. Thank you for everyone for watching. If you watch this on a replay, or say hello, drop your comments, say hello to everyone, connect with each one of you, us here today. If you have any questions to them, connect with them. I'm sure they will love to connect with you and answer you any questions. We'll see you in 2 weeks. If you want to join and you've never been part of it, you're welcome to join. We'll drop the link so you can connect. And also, we're waiting for you to see you. Those that already been part, they want to rejoin and come again and say who you are today, like Michelle said, who I am today, because we're all in a process of transformation. Come again. We'll love to see you. And like I always said, see you next time. And until then, live your life like it's truly yours. Bye-bye, everyone.